Hi there, and welcome back to the CKM Red Rugby League channel. It is Tuesday. The team lists are now out. A few changes to go through, and we're going to take you through them, give out our tips. Last week was an unpredictable one, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But how are you going, mate?
Yeah, mate, not too bad. We won't talk about last week. I think I was 0 from 10 to start the week. I know you had a couple of multis that got up, but it wasn't pretty viewing. So if anyone did get 8 out of 8, I applaud your efforts. How are you?
I am very good, mate. Yeah, some games that are a little bit tricky to pick this week. Hopefully, we can find a bit of value for some people out there. If you are watching and you're not yet subscribed, do so, please. It helps us out massively. Also, any feedback greatly appreciated if you do make it to the end of this video. Across the bottom there, you've got our sponsors, RCR. They are kindly sponsoring this video, so use code CKM at their website to get 20% off your order. That'll be down in the description if you are watching this on YouTube. Thursday opens up with the Brisbane Broncos taking on the Penrith Panthers. The Broncos are now officially mathematically out of the equation for finals football, which is tough luck for them. It's kind of it kind of pretty much sums up their season, to be honest. It's not been great for them. A couple changes that do welcome back Corey Oates, which is a big boost to their back line. Means Kennard now goes to the other wing and Farnworth comes off the wing into the centre. No Offa Ngawe this week, and Isaac Luke is in as your starting hooker. It's a tough one for the Broncos, to be honest, going up against Penrith.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's going to be pretty viewing for the Broncos. Brody Croft, I said last week, I don't really know why he's there in the 14. I don't think he's enough of a utility player to be there. He gets dropped for Corey Pay. Kurt Capewell comes back for his first game in about 4 months. At least it feels like 4 months. Who else do we have? James Fisher-Harris pushing back into the lock role with Moses Leota starting at prop. Isaiah Yeo out. That's a big loss for the Panthers. One of the club captains, but a really pretty handy replacement in Moses Leota and Fisher-Harris going into the 13. Coruscant potentially back in as well. He's named in the 18. Billy Burns, Matt Burton, Pat Hollis, the others for the Panthers on the bench, on the reserves. Sorry. I don't think it's going to be pretty viewing. The reintroduction of Payne Haas to the front row will help Brisbane. They definitely lacked his go forward in the last couple of weeks, but you'd almost have to think it's immoral, right? The Panthers are 13 plus, surely?
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, you saw how they played against the Roosters last week, the Broncos, and as soon as the Roosters got a roll on, it was just the end of the end for them. It was just the Broncos. It seems like as soon as they concede sort of back-to-back tries, it's shut up shop time. They didn't have any sort of attacking go forward or prowess. Offa Ngawe, although he's out of the squad, and in the last hour he's been told he can leave Brisbane at the end of the season and test his market value. Although he has a few penalties in him and a little bit of ill discipline, the punch power that he brings to that front row is going to be missed against this Panthers pack, which will just absolutely rumble up the middle, kick out back in that 11 shirt, causing issues all over the field. I don't see the Broncos cracking 20 points, so I'm going to say the Broncos under 20 points. I'm going to go the Panthers on a 13 plus, and I'm going to say you take the over on this one as well. I don't know what the over is yet. Luke will enlighten us while he gets Sportsbet up on the other laptop.
Yeah, we got the dual laptop set up this week. No pen and paper. I conveniently forgot that at Mum's as I was working out there today, so we love that. The over under 48.5.
Back it.
All right. I will say Sportsbet don't reach to 20, but if I have a cheeky scroll down, Obviously, for those that use Sportsbet, you know about the same game multi. So take advantage of that this week. I think Thursday and Friday is 3-leg same game bet. You get 3 of those. If one leg fails, you get your money back. So definitely take advantage of it if you can. Where am I going? Total points. Brisbane total points they have as under 11.5. If you want to go Brisbane alternative points, they offer 20.5, the under, at a solid $1.13.
Yeah, take that, multi it up.
All right, multiing Brisbane under 20.5 with the over 48.5. You said and the Panthers 13 plus. Solid, $2.50.
The boys have come through again this week with the big value. Yeah.
That's you love your small multis, don't you? But hey, they're coming off. They are starting to come off. I can't mock you.
Go on, what's your back for this one?
Yeah, it's I really, really want to try and find some value here, but I don't really think that there is much.
The only value you find in this one is if you back the Broncos and they come up with an upset. Broncos 13 plus and every player to score is about the only value you're going to find in this one.
I tell you what. Last week I did say Tony Staggs at about 3:30 was a shout. He's always a shout. I'm going to back him again. He's at 288. If he plays up on Stephen Crichton's side, Crichton is known for a defensive lapse or two. I could see Staggs going through. I didn't think that his try last week would be off a shocking pass for him to run 80 metres, mind you, but you take them as they come. I don't really know on much else. James Fisher-Harris at $7 isn't a bad shout. To be completely honest, it is worth a cheeky look. I'm not going to suggest it, but it is worth a shout. I don't know if the Panthers are going to score 6 tries, to be completely honest. They've got, there is no value whatsoever here. All right, we're going to go Panther, time of first try. We're going to pull out a market I don't think we've called yet. Time of the first try, I think the Panthers will get off to a cracking start early on. I think they score before the 8th minute. So Stags into the first try being at 7:59 or earlier. That's all I'm going to suggest. Obviously, I'm going the Panthers on the head-to-head. That's 4:33. I think that'll do it. I'm not going to try and suggest To'o, Crichton, Mansour. You could go Naden at $1.80 if you. I think Naden at $1.80 is a great shout. If you throw those 3 together, 7.75 odds. I think that's pretty good value.
It doesn't sound terrible. Yeah, we'll get off that one then, and we'll get on to the next one. It is the Newcastle Knights taking on the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. It's going to be an interesting one. This one's not easy to call. I'm still a little bit on the fence as to how this one goes. I think that there'll be points because, it's a Sharks game. There's always points. But to caveat that, the 6 and 7 this week for the Sharks, Trindle and Townsend. That's a combination we've not seen out of the Sharks this year so far, I believe. For the halves pairing, because there's no Johnson this week. He's gone with a strain. And Matt Moylan, it was revealed that he'd been playing with a grade 2 partial tear in his hamstring for the last couple of weeks, which is not great, to be honest. And he'll be a big loss there for the Sharks. So it's going to be tough. I still don't know where this one goes. I lean more towards the Sharks, and I will put some rationale behind that. And that's just, I think that the Knights have massively fallen off this year. Well, sorry, towards the second half of this year. Defensively, they've been a little bit suspect against teams that really they should be beating. That Lino Pierce halves combination just hasn't clicked. I know that they've only had 1-2 games at this point. I think this might actually be the second game. Yep, and it's it's two teams with unfamiliar halves pairings, but the Sharks have an ability to run up points. The Knights just, for me, they don't look the part for coming into this week. So I'm leaning towards the Sharks on the head-to-head. I don't know what market I'm going to go yet, but I mean, even when you look to the stats, points scored 374 by the Sharks, Knights 305, points conceded 232 conceded by the Knights, 344 by the Sharks. It looks to me that there's going to be points in this one. What's your thinking?
Yeah, just going through all the markets now. It's a tough one to pick. The Sharks are currently the underdogs, surprisingly. The Sharks are $1.95 underdogs against the Knights, who looked like absolute dog poop last week. Looking at the over-under, the over is 42.5. Hitting it. I'm taking that straight away. Four of the last five Sharks games have been 42 points or more. We saw last week, played like absolute crap. Newcastle played like absolute crap. Cronulla got the 28-12 win. I'm looking at the wrong stat sheet here. But yeah, 4 of the last 5, 40 points or more. As for Newcastle, same thing, 42 points or 40 points or more, 4 of the last 5. When they look like crap against the Cowboys, obviously a 12-0 win. But yeah, I'm hitting that over every day of the week. I don't know how Lino's going to play second game up. He needed that one to feel out, but that feel out was getting absolutely barreled over by some big boys from the Warriors, and it did not look pretty whatsoever. I think the loss of Johnson, an already known loss of Johnson this week, won't affect the Sharks. I think they had Connor Tracy in the 7 last week with no Townsend.
They did,
and it obviously wasn't a typical Sharks attack. It put more pressure on Will Kennedy, it put more pressure on Blake Brayley, but it still wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad shout from the Sharkies, and for as good of a forward pack as the Knights have, they're coming up against Hamlin ULA, who's on a barnstormer this year. Toby Rudolph, although we could expect him probably to not start. Royce Hunt, Aaron Woods, Brett Nakora, Wade Graham, Scotty Sorensen, COC for Talakai. I'm sorry if I butchered his first name. Had absolutely barnstorming last 2 months. Yeah, he's been fantastic. And it's not taking credit away from Newcastle. You got Clemmer, Jacob Saifidi, Lockie Fitzgibbon, Aiden Guerra, who's a former Queensland Origin rep, Mitch Barnett, who's been great, SASA coming off the bench, Josh King's been pretty solid. Like, that's a strong forward pack. But I think the Sharks are just going to give them better go forward. So I'm leaning towards the Sharks here. I'm going to go Sharks 1-12, paying 310. I'm taking that over 42.5 as well. All right, so that's going to be my official tips. Sharks 1-12 and the over 42.5. That's paying 725 on a multi. I think that's a pretty juicy value there. If you want an anytime try scorer, because of course I can't go a game without at least providing a suggestion, never mind a tip. I do think that Blake Brayley at 650 is a big shout. He's due for one. He can scoot from dummy half. We saw last week that the Knights were a little vulnerable through the middle. Granted, yes, they did have a couple of players go down hurt, but Blake Brayley at 650, I'm seeing some dollar signs here. But Sharks 1-12 over 42.5. That's what I'm rolling with.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the Sharks on the head-to-head. I'm gonna go the over. I'm gonna go Mulatalo anytime try scorer. Just because I think that they'll probably target Toa if the numbers line up as they should, because Katoa's usually your right side, Mulatalo on your left. So I think that they'll go down Toa's lane. I think that they'll probably pepper him with a few kicks as well, just because Mulatalo is fantastic in the air. He's got, if he's not batting him backwards, he's taking him himself and going over. And he's also, if he does manage to get one-on-one with Toa, I don't see Toa being able to stop Mulatalo. So I'm going to go with that. And Luke's going to tell you how much that's worth.
Sportsbet, if you really want to, give us a cheeky sponsorship here, we're not going to say no. We'll bring old mate, we'll bring the skipper on, we'll bring Wally on. They can have their banter. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're definitely not amateur hour. It's definitely not like I'm eating dinner at the same time right now. Sharks head-to-head, over 42.5, and Sione Katoa, $5. Matt, don't say it.
I said Mulatalo. I definitely said Mulatalo.
Sorry. You did too. My bad. 575.
575. Okay, slightly better.
I woke up like 20 minutes ago. Give me a break here.
Right. Okay, then. With that, we will get on to the next one. The South Sydney Rabbitohs, last week's big shock winners, to take on the Melbourne Storm. I know one Parramatta fan who will be loving to talk about that game at some point. And and they take on the Melbourne Storm, and the Storm have gone through just a couple of changes. So Lume comes in at on the wing, sorry. He's stepping in as Marion Seve is unfortunately done for 2020 with an ACL. The forwards, you've got Lewis and Faso Malawi, both coming into the starting lineup. On the bench, it's Hines, Jacks, Vete, and Schoenig for the Storm. As for South, their one change is a pretty big one. Latrell Mitchell's season is also over, so Alex Johnston will be firmly putting himself in the shop window as his South's contract comes to an end by stepping in at fullback. Safe to say that the Rabbitohs don't have the best record against the Storm.
Yeah, it's not pretty. If we go through, we'll go through the last 5 just for the why nots, and the Bunnies have won 1. I'm not going to go back any further than that. I don't think going past that is relevant for what we're looking at. But yeah, and it's not pretty viewing for Souths. 22-8, 26-16, 29-28. Souths are 30-20, and then a 64-6 spanking at Amy Park in 2017. So not pretty viewing. Obviously, as you mentioned, no Latrell. Huge loss for South Sydney. Alex Johnson, don't get me wrong, great player, fantastic fullback, one of the premier wingers in the competition. I'm not going to lie, really hope he stays at the Bunnies. But if he wants to come to Parramatta, we kind of have a bit of a duck egg on one wing at the moment, and we could definitely use that. But I don't think he's a ball-playing fullback. He's running fullback, and the Storm will know that. And this is a Storm side that loves to jam in, that loves to try and attack the fullback when they're trying to get into the red zone. So I am going with the Storm on this one. I don't believe there are any other changes. I know Cam Smith came up good. Cam Munster was good. Chris Lewis gets the start, which is interesting. Tino's going to lock with Nelson Solomona out of the calf strain. It's good to see Chris Lewis get a start, though. I think he's busted his ass for a long time there in the lower grades. He's got his chance this season, and he's looked good. He looked good in extended time last week. Schoenig, On the bench, Jackson. Ooh, that's interesting. Nico Hines and Riley Jacks on the bench. So
they did it last week too. They did it.
Yeah.
The Storm pulled it last week, and we openly said, I don't think that's a great idea, but for whatever reason, that extra mobility and versatility actually were in their favour because they ended up playing Hines. I can't remember where they ended up playing Hines. I think it might have even played him in the centre. They played him in the centre, right? Well, for whatever reason, it worked. And
Sebe with the ACL, as unfortunate as it is, and we hope that he gets well. That he's able to get back. Him going down meant that Hines would just slot straight into the centre position. Every now and then he'd flirt around with Chris Lewis, but I think you'll see him as a floating lock this week. When Tino comes off, he'll get a bit of a rest. Nico will go in a 13 position, kind of, very much like a Cam McInnes role at the moment. And then Schionig, he's a big boy. He is a big boy. Definitely don't want him running at me.
Yeah.
Poor Stephen Masters, who I think's had a superb first 2 games in the NRL. I got to see him play last year against the US for the Cook Islands. Big time player, big time future. Just unfortunate that he's currently behind Dane Gagai and Campbell Graham. I think he'll be back before the end of the season, but that's not what they're here for. They're not here for hype about Stephen Masters, as good as he is. They want the tips. Immediate tip, Storm on the head-to-head, Lumi for a try. I think they're going to absolutely barrel down that wing. That dude is huge. He's got great hands. He's quick. He's agile. There's something about these Fijian wingers. They are insane. You had Radradra, that Parramatta before Sevo. Obviously, Sevo now, granted on a bit of a try-scoring duck. Lumi, only 80 minutes that he's played in the NRL, but he looked well at home last week. Andy's at 230. Give me that every day of the week. So we'll go on Lumi for an anytime try scorer. The line currently is 3.5 on the same game multi. I'm jumping all over that. I'm not going to touch the over-under yet. Oh, actually, 38.5 is the line, so that gives you something to think about. Only 2 of the last 5 games the Storm have gone over. 24-6 against Sydney, 14-0 loss against Parramatta, 30-6 against Manly. South Sydney, they've gone over in their last 3, 4 of their last 5. In fact, if you go back as far as round 10, they've hit 38 twice, and then an 18-12 loss against the Raiders. So that's definitely a cheeky line there from Sportsbet, but I'm just going to go with that. I'm not going to do anything special. I need to get a little bit of credibility up this week. Storm, 3.5 line, Lumi, anytime try scorer, that pays $3.50.
Okay. I like your thought process. I was looking at Lumi and thinking maybe, but you've already tipped him now, so I'm going to change up, and I am going to go with Brenko Lee anytime. Just because I think that he has a tendency to hold the ball sometimes, so I think he may get over. I'm going to go bolder on this one as well. I'm going to go Storm 13+, just because South's last week against Para, that is the first time they've beaten a top 4 team this season. Against top 4 teams, they don't do well. They beat the teams around them. They might edge a win or 2 against a team that's at the bottom of the 8, but they don't do too well against those premier sides that really are going to be there or thereabouts when it comes to finals. So that's my reasoning behind the 13+. So yeah, Brenko Lee and the 13+ for me will do it, because I think there's going to be a bit of juicy value in there.
Brenko Lee by itself is paying $3.75. The Storm 13+ at $3.25. You multi them together on the same gamer, $8.25. It's not bad value there. Not bad value at all there, Matthew. Could I tempt you into saying that's your value of the week?
I'm going to say that that's my value of the week while I know what the number is, because last week I was like, oh, look, here's South Sydney on a minus 25 over 52 points. That one's going to have some value in it. No, what, like $2.12. So, yes, while I know what that number is, that is going to be my value. And we're not going to get ourselves annoyed this week.
You'll be fine. It'll be fine, Matty. It's fine. Okay, don't get grumpy.
Right then, and with that, then we will get on to the next one. It is the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs taking on the Gold Coast Titans in one of the round's most unpredictable games. The Bulldogs unchanged 1-13. Their only changes coming on the bench: Averillo in the 14, Thompson in the 17. Katoa goes out of the squad, as does Britt. It is going to be interesting to see how this one pans out, because the Titans do bring back Fotuaika. He's on the bench though. Hipgrave on the bench as well, and Sam Lasoni has literally just won his judiciary appeal as well, so he will not have to sit this one out. So big bonus for the Titans.
Yeah, big time bonus. Usually we wouldn't have that news, but I slept for 6 hours after work, so apologies if this goes out late, everyone. We'll give some context to it. This is a tough one to pick. You've got a team of the Titans who, depending on who you ask, are either one of the year's most improved teams, or they're absolutely idiotic for giving a 5-year extension to Holbrook. Take your pick. I'm going with the former. The Dogs have not filled me with any great confidence. Obviously, they've got the new coach coming in. You could argue they probably could have and should have won their last 2 games. They played against the Warriors, were up 10-0 at one point. 10-0? I think they're up 14-6, sorry, and then choked. And then the Raiders, 20-12 at halftime, and then they get absolutely obliterated in the second half. Where do you look if you're a Dog supporter? I do feel really sorry for you guys. The combination of Ash Taylor, Jamal Fogarty, and AJ Brimson starting to find some cohesion there. I know we posted about it earlier today, saying that Ash Taylor would happily take a pay cut if he could stick with this spine and bring some more talent into the club. So I think he recognises he's not $1 million a year halfback. He's been paid superbly for what was essentially one game 5 years ago. But, he recognises that he needs to take a pay cut to stay at the club and to give the club a chance of finals footy. So I commend him on that. In terms of this week, as you mentioned, Dogs 1-13 with the 2 changes on the bench. Peachy at lock, I wasn't sold with last week. I'm still not sold with, although it probably was one of his better games. Bo Firma, I think he's really making a mark there at the second row there at the Titans. I think he's one that next year with Dave Fafita and Big Tino, I'm really liking the look of this Titans pack next year. But we can analyse that when we do our end-of-year reviews right here on CKM Red Rugby League's YouTube channel. So keep an eye out for those in about 8 weeks' time. AJ Brimson's looking fantastic. I think he's going to absolutely scorch Holland and Montoya. He's got the speed. Montoya has been pretty good defensively since coming back from his knee injury. But, that's been 3 games and he's come up against Dewey, who's a good fullback, but he's not quick. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, who I think burned him straight off the scrum for one of those tries, and Charles Nickel-Klokstad, who has probably been one of the more underrated players this year, in my opinion, one of the more underrated fullbacks. Hasn't been given a lot of credit for For where the Raiders are at the moment, a lot of that has been around, just oh my goodness, the Raiders are so injured, but then Tom Starling and then George Williams and Bateman coming back and all of that. So give credit where credit's due for Nick Klokstad. But in terms of this week, the fact that the Titans are $1.80 is laughable to me. I think that should be closer to about $1.60. I am going Titans on the head-to-head. I've just hyped Brimson up, so watch him have an absolute shocker. But AJ Brimson at 220, anytime try scorer. I don't really know if there's much else. They're not offering the under at the moment for the same game multi. I don't know why, but the over's 42.5. And I think I'm going to smack that. All on the floor, smack that, give me some more. 42.5. I'm taking the line. I hope you enjoyed that little rendition. Titans, AJ Brimson, over 42.5, 525. That'll do it for me.
Okay. I'm going to go the under. I'm going to go Titans 1-12. And I'm going to go Tonomapea anytime. The reason that I say the under is because two teams that are not renowned for scoring points, the Bulldogs only have 188 to their name, and the Titans only have 202. Points conceded, the Bulldogs are actually better defensively than the Titans, with 342 compared to their 367. So I think that will lead to there's not going to be a lot of points in this. I still think that it's going to be close because the Bulldogs have shown a little bit of heart in the last few weeks, and that seems to go a long way at the minute. And I think that Titans, however, are just full of confidence at the minute. Mathematically, they're the only Queensland team that can still make finals football. When was the last time we could say that about Gold Coast, if ever? So it is. I think that the Titans have got. I think even though that the Titans still are in contention, I think that they have less to play for than the Dogs, who are desperately trying to avoid the spoon at the minute. So I think that that's going to lead to a tight game, but I'd see the Titans edging this one just because of a little bit of a differential in the class and how they play. You've seen how the Titans are clicking through the middle as they move the ball to the edges. And that's why I think that Tonomapea is going to get over as well, just because he's looked really good as well. So, yeah, that's where I go for that one.
So I can't give you multi-odds because, as I said, Sportsbet at the moment don't have the under up as a potential selection for a same-game multi. What I can tell you is this. The Titans, who are paying $3 just for 1-12, into young Tonomapea, who's paying $3.50 for an anytime try scorer. That in itself is $10. If I had to hazard a guess with the under, that could be somewhere around a $20 multi.
One to take note of there.
Yeah, once we know, well, hopefully by the time this gets edited by our wonderful tech whiz there, we can get you an odd for that. But if I had to hazard a guess, it's probably about $20. You are still paying the little troll under the desk for that, right, mate?
No. Right, then. With that, then we'll move on to the next one. It is the Manly Seagulls taking on the West Tigers. The Seagulls bring in Abbas Miski, and Hopewati is in the centre. Gashevsky going back to the second row. Unfortunately, Joel Thompson has played his last game in the NRL. His season's over, and with him heading to St Helens next year, it's kind of a wrap for him. So, congratulations on your NRL career. Really, not the way that you wanted it to end, but that's by the by right now. We will talk about the players that are there, and the Tigers. They've gone for a bit of a change up as well. Dewey into the centre, Mbai at fullback, Kipoa on the wing. I think that this could be a smart move. just simply because the last time you saw that Mbai-Kapoa combination, the Tigers absolutely leaked points. And it was just an absolute horror show. I think it might have been against the Sharks. I can't remember who it was, but all I remember is watching and thinking, Jesus Christ, change that edge up because you are absolutely being slaughtered down that side. So
it was either that one or when Charlie Staines scored 4.
Maybe. I don't know. It was against someone that scored a lot of points down that side. That's all we know for sure. But the Tigers, I mean, I'm really tempted to take the Tigers, but I'm not. I don't think I can do it to myself. I mean, their seasons. Everyone outside the 8, their season's pretty much done at this point. 4 points off everyone in a minus points differential. I don't see anyone realistically, catching up or gaining any ground on anyone there. The Seagulls, Spooner at fullback doesn't fill me with a great amount of confidence. Your halves are going to have to really step up again here. Your forward pack of Fanua, Blake and Tapawa are basically where your meters are made because, I mean, Jake Trbojevic hasn't been Jake Trbojevic this year. He's not been great. He hasn't fell into that rhythm. And I mean, we put up a few weeks ago sort of the amount of players that each team has used, and the Seagulls had the least amount of players used. And granted, some of the injuries have come in key positions, in Walker missing and Tom Trbojevic, but the rest of the players you feel like were pretty interchangeable. So for some reason, those two changes have just absolutely knocked the life out of the Seagulls in 2020. And I think they're just looking forward to getting through the season, getting the players off the park and just recuperating and going again. But saying that, I still fancy them here against the Tigers.
Yeah, it's a tough one. We saw last week Tavita Funa got I'd love to say reality check. I think he got that one against South Sydney, but I think it's pretty safe to say that he's not a fullback. He was caught out of position way too many times. Obviously, it doesn't help when you have someone like Josh Addo-Carr who can, run faster than lightning can strike. And yeah, you have Funa, who isn't the quickest guy. Big guy, stocky guy, handy in defence, but not necessarily the quickest guy caught out of position. He definitely got caught out last week. Look, it leads me to say, and this is nothing against the Manly side, but they're also coming up against the Tigers team who just told Benji that he's not wanted next year. So I think Benji's going to come out and have an absolute barnstormer. This is his audition to try and get himself one more year in the NRL. I haven't heard of anyone who's been asking. I know Benji wants to go around one more. I don't see him moving to England. Who knows? Potentially he goes to the Warriors. Mentors Paul Turner and Harris Tavita for a year. Goes to his home country for a swan song, and then calls it quits. I think I'd really like to see that, but Benji's going to be giving his outside backs a lot of ball, and I think I don't know. The odds suggest Manly. Manly are at $1.60. The Tigers are at $2.35. Look, I'm going Nofo and Kapoa for anytime try scorers. Both of them. The immediate thing that stuck out for me was that both wingers for the Tigers are very good try scorers, and there's a high chance that if they get on the outside, Funa's not going to be able to come around quick enough. George Tafua jams in a lot, so if Benji can have that sleight of hand or a beautiful Harbour Bridge pass that he has, I think both of them will get in. I'm going to say the Tigers. I say that with no confidence whatsoever. You can't back either of these teams at the moment. But if I had to, knowing that they've had a similar sort of run, both teams have played Penrith in their last 5. They've both played Newcastle. The Manly have played the Storm, Tigers, the Roosters, very similar teams in terms of where they are on the ladder. Canterbury, the Tigers got up there. Yeah, look, I'm going the Tigers. I say that with no real confidence. If you add those three together, it's a $7 multi. But I'm only saying this because I think we need to suggest tips. We're not a page that doesn't suggest tips for games we don't like. But for me personally, this is probably a game that I'm not going to put much, if anything, on.
Yeah, I join your line of thinking. So I struggled for this one as well. I'm going to go with Cherry Evans anytime, just because I think that he's going to chance his arm coming up against those Tigers forwards who tend to tire and slip off a tackle here and there. I'm also going to go by anytime, just because he likes to run the ball, although he's played in the halves and he's got a good passing game to him. I just think that he's probably going to be more inclined to back himself just based on how they've played in recent weeks. A lot of ball down, a lot of mistimings and misfirings when it comes to picking lines and who's supposed to be going through what hole. So I think along the same lines as my Cherry Evans thinking, really. So going to go with that by Cherry Evans anytime. I'm just going to go Seagulls just on the head-to-head, just because I can't figure out as to whether the Seagulls turn up and blow this one out, or it's just going to be a close run game. Because I mean, the Tigers, realistically, this should be a tight game, but sometimes the Tigers just don't show up for whatever reason. So yeah, that's where my thinking goes on that one.
I don't know if you've realised this, mate, but that's our first one in a week and a half that we don't agree on. So 4-3 is happening one way or another.
Unless we end up going alternate games again, which seems to happen every other week.
Yeah, that's true. If you're curious, your multi is 1775.
Ooh. Coming out swinging with the big value this week. But okay then, with that we will get on to the next one. It is the grand final rematch, the Raiders versus the Roosters. Notable inclusion, well, two notable inclusions for the Roosters, and that is the return of Keary and Sonny Williams, which is going to be interesting to see. As for the Raiders, slight change up. Sutton comes in as your starting prop. Tarpanay goes to your starting loose. Harawira Nara comes back after missing last week against the Bulldogs. And Dynamis Louis is moved to the bench instead, as is Hudson Young. I think we might differ on this one. Who are you going with here?
Before I say who I'm tipping, please, Mitchell Orbison, get back and become the Roosters' leading gamesman, most cap Rooster. He's named in the 19. I really hope, for his sake, because he's coming back a little earlier than what would have been expected. I really hope that he doesn't miss out on 303 or whatever he needs because Sonny Bill is back. He deserves, for what he's done for that club, to go out as the Roosters player with the most games. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to look on this one. I think I can say safely that the fullback battle should be won by James Tedesco. I would argue that the wing battle, the centre battle, are going the Roosters' way. I think the halves, and this is controversial, I think the Canberra have the better halves at the moment. Keary just coming back, Flanagan on and off. Williams, again, he can come in and out a little bit, but Whiten has been really, really good in this last month. I think they've got the better halves at the moment. The forward pack, it's a tight one. Papali and Warrior Hargraves, you've got to go Papali. I think on career form, Jake Friend over Havili, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Havili come to the bench and Tommy Starling start based on how well he performed last week. Takiyaho over Sutton, Bateman over Cordner. On career form, Whitehead over Tupanua, but Tupanua's having a superb year. Joseph Tarpane over Isaac Liu. It's being played in Canberra. Oh, you're making me pick first. I don't like you for it. Canberra. I'm going the Raiders.
I was going to go the Raiders as well. Damn it.
Yes.
I tell you why I go the Raiders. This right here. That right there is the reason that we go the Raiders. Teams this year that have a point to prove when they were absolutely robbed, they turn up and they win the get square every single time. We saw it with Manly versus Para off the turbo forward pass, and then come back, beat them. We saw it again, Manly versus Newcastle, the shove in the back. It's this is just Manly we're talking about here, actually. But teams that have got a real purpose and a cross to carry always turn up. And what bigger of an occasion to be robbed on than a grand final? So I think that the Raiders, if you're in a green shirt this week and you're not ready to go out and rip someone's head off, you're in the wrong game. You have no bigger reason not to be fired up for this one, because most of those players, barring maybe 3 or 4, were there on the day. They saw the arm wave, and they want to go out basically and just get what they feel is theirs. Granted, the Roosters bring back Kiri. We're back to the Kiri Flanagan combination that basically dominated a large part of the first half of the season. Then, for whatever reason, was changed up. Yes, you bring back Sonny Bill Williams, who, based on my first-hand experience, so I was there for Sonny Bill Williams' first game back in Super League, and he's not the player he used to be, which, granted, happens with age and basically time out of the game. He's not played a game now for 4-5 months. He's only just come out of quarantine, and you're going to put him in against the Raiders in the grand final get square. I don't think that that's a great idea. So for those reasons, I see the Raiders getting up. So I'm going to take the Raiders on the line. And that's pretty much all I can suggest on this one. I don't fancy anything else realistically, other than maybe a Jack White and anytime try. He was the one that was there pleading the case. I've stolen your thunder. He was the one there pleading the case during that arm wave, that infamous arm wave. So I can see him getting over and absolutely having a great time of it. So that's going to be where I go on that one. Raiders on the line and White in any time.
So I have my bet already written down, calculated, got the multi-odds, and you pulled that crap on me. Whiten is paying $4.33. I don't need to look at it. I already know what it is. The line is $1.80. If I had to go, oh, you've made me mad now, Matthew. Is that your revenge? Is that your revenge for making you wait 6 hours to record? Jerk. All right. I had, and I'm still going to go with it. I don't care. I don't care because I really think Whiten's gonna score in this one too. I've gone Jack Whiten, Joey Manu, Raiders, paying $29.75 for a same game multi. I went the same logic as you. Whiten is the one who got hard done by that 6-game call. He was the one pleading the case, begging, sir, no. Well, you can argue all you want whether that was the right call or not. I don't think it was. I don't care if that's the actual. I don't care if it was the actual law. It was huge in the context of a grand final. Arguably, probably did cost the Raiders a grand final. But I can't go past that. Joey Manu, if he's coming up against Curtis Scott, well, really either of them. Curtis Scott has been a lot better since he's come back in, but he still has that moment. And Jared Croker is just, he's there because he scores. you have the calls of, oh yeah, he should be an Origin centre, but he'd be found out defensively. It'd be like Nathan Merritt. It'd be Nathan Merritt all over again. Superb club. The minute you put him on Origin defensively, he's found out. It's a completely different ballgame. But Joey Manu, Jack Whiten, Canberra, 29.75. Of course, it's going to be my value multi of the week. You can't not have Whiten, I don't think, in a multi this week. At 4.33, you're multi-paying 6.25 as well, just for Raiders on the line and Jack Whiten, the line being 5.5 for a same-game multi. The Raiders have a point to prove. They have a point to prove. If you want to pick another potential Raider for an anytime try scorer, I would go so far as to say your mate, Johnny Bateman. He's paying $5. He was there. He has a point to prove. He wants to take that team back to the grand final and win an NRL premiership before he goes home. I think Bateman goes over here. But I'm not giving it as a tip. Raiders, Manu, Whiten, 29.75. That is my value multi of the week.
Okay, then. We've harped on that one for a little while. We'll get on to the next one. Okay, then. We are into the Warriors versus the Eels. You will notice that the Warriors do not have any Eels players this week, as the Eels have mysteriously recalled them. What are the chances? And the Warriors, so they have to go through a couple of changes. Murchie comes into the second row, Curran to the bench, Beale to the wing, as George Jennings is gone as well. And no Elisa Katoa, as he is out for probably the rest of the season, as he's undergone surgery on a broken hand. They will rush to get him back for likely maybe the last round or two, but it's highly unlikely. As for the Eels, their big loss for the week is unfortunately Dylan Brown. He's gone, and Jay Field is into the 6th shirt. And I'm going to go for a bit of an out there call this week. The Warriors win this one. I think the Warriors win this one. The Parramatta fan does not agree with me. I wouldn't expect him to. But here's the rationale and logic behind it. Again, the Warriors still mathematically can make the finals. You could make an entire Netflix series based on this Warriors season. And if they make the finals, make it feature length. They've got a point to prove. The Eels obviously recall their 2 players. The Warriors will be feeling a little bit hard done by on that one. They'll be wanting to basically prove a point to Parramatta and say, didn't matter that you took your players back, we beat you without them. Parramatta, well and truly off the boil. They've not looked the side that were touted as the 81-82 team, the best that there's been, the team that's going to bring that elusive premiership to Parramatta, and then that long wait for another premiership. So I go with the Warriors for this one on the head-to-head.
I really would love to rip into you and say how wrong you are, but I almost agree with you. I almost agree with you. I am going heart over head on this one because my head, honestly, is telling me Warriors. I'm going with the heart. I am saying Parramatta. This is our second different game of the week. We're so crap. We have played no. Last time I went on this sort of rant, we had to cut out 6 minutes of recording, so we're not going to go. I'm not going to start that.
I had to bleep, I had to cut, I had to blur things. It was madness. We're not doing that again.
I'm just going with my heart on this one. I'm saying Parramatta. But your logic is, you're spot on your reasoning. The thing with Jay Field is he brings more of a running game than Dylan Brown, which is hard to believe because Dylan Brown's running game is one of the best for a 5'8". But Field can only go one way, and that way is Sivo's way. He can dart the other way, he can provide blindside support, but more often than not, what you'll see is Gutherson playing that second receiver and Moses probably swinging around the back, or vice versa. And you'll have, I don't know, someone like Mattison or Nathan Brown or Nia Corey, if he comes on, playing in that first receiver role to get it out. On that left side, you'll see Field as that guy out the back, able to cut out a Sivo, give it to Warringah Blake, who I think should have been dropped this week. But anyways, that's just me. It's interesting that the Warriors haven't named 21. Are they not able to name 21 with no loan players? Because NRL.com only have 20 at the moment.
I don't think they can, because they've still got Hetherington suspended. They've just lost those 2 loan players, and then 4 of their players already went home.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, there you go. To be fair, I don't think that they were recalled per se. It was just agreed upon that Alvaro and Jennings wouldn't play this week. Obviously, they know the structure of Parramatta. They know the play calls. They know the setup. Bit of an unfair advantage. That is the logic. It was agreed upon with Hetherington, with the Warriors as well. He just happened to be suspended for that game as well. So that's all it is. I really hope it was nothing untoward because Jennings has been superb for the Warriors since he's gone over there. Alvaro's starting to find a little vein of form that saw him seen as an up-and-comer 3 years ago now, I think. But I've given you enough analysis as to why Parramatta suck, even though I'm a Parramatta fan. I am going Parramatta. Gerard Beale on the wing. Oh, I'm going to regret this. I know I'm going to regret this. Blake Ferguson, he's got to score. I'm going back to it. Right? He's got to, right? Surely.
Sivo's not going to score. It's not a Bankwest.
Is it meant to rain? It's meant to rain. Actually, hang on. Before I confirm my tip, let me check this. Please, while I look at the weather and become our CKM Red Rugby League meteorologist, please, your tip, sir.
Oh God, I don't like anything in this game. So I am going to go for the Warriors on the head-to-head. I'm going to take Warriors 1-12. I think this is going to be one of those games where the Warriors turn up and you see the high completion Warriors where it's like 42 out of 46 or something daft like that. And all they're going to do is basically just frustrate the Eels. They're going to frustrate them into making mistakes. And what you see with the Eels as well is after 15 minutes, if things aren't clicking right, then it's not going to click at all. So I'm going to go Warriors head-to-head. 1-12 as well, just on a multi there.
Well, there's this beautiful thing called a big win, little win that has the Warriors 1-12 at 4:33.
Okay, yeah, just take that then. That works too.
All right, the Warriors 1-12, 4:33. No multi because it is just one single bet. But yeah. I mean, honestly, I do not blame you whatsoever. Yeah, it's meant to be sunny. I'm still going Parramatta. If it was wet, I would have taken the Warriors, to be completely frank. Eels into Ferguson. I don't know, Matt. I don't know. It's painful to be a Parramatta supporter right now. It's absolutely painful. All right, here we go. Eels, Ferguson, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Sheck, if he gets an opportunity, he's going to go straight through. And he's going to target Warringah Blake because he can't defend worth a damn. Ferguson, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Eels, $8.50 on the multi.
That seems low for what you're proposing there. For a guy that's not scored in 12 months and a fullback that's only got, 3 tries this season? I would have thought there'd be more value attached to it.
Ferguson is $2 on the dot. The Eels are $1.37 at the moment. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, $2.88. He also has scored something like 5 tries, 3 of those in the last month.
Nah,
So
that
his
was
value,
I think it's 3.
Roger's value's come in a little bit. But
Yeah.
Eels into Ferguson were only paying $2.50. I was not going to just suggest that.
Okay, and with that, then we'll get on to our final game. The final game of the round is another tricky call, to be honest, if you're somewhat of a neutral to either one of these teams. Cowboys taking on the Dragons. For the Cowboys, no Morgan. Holmes is back at fullback. Tabuai Fido goes to the wing. No Hess as well. As for their interchange, slightly different looking. Arce, Asiata, Gilbert, and Jensen all in. As for the Dragons, their only change is Fuimaono back from suspension. Trent Merrin loses his space in the side in exchange for him. I know that the favourites for this one are the Dragons. I do, however, fancy the Cowboys for this. And I don't know why. Because I look at that Cowboys side and I think there's a lot of talent missing. No Tamalolo, who is pretty much the Cowboys at this point. No Morgan, which is, to be honest, it's been like that for most of the season now. But Val Holmes named at fullback gives me a lot of confidence. Tabuai Fido named at the wing. And then that Drinkwater-Clifford combination in the halves, which granted hasn't really delivered in 2020, but does have familiarity. So I'm going to lean towards Cowboys just because I think the Dragons under new management haven't worked themselves out as yet. And I think that the Cowboys realistically probably want this season to go out on a high, and they definitely don't want to be finishing below Gold Coast or Brisbane, because then they'll have to listen to how they have gone from pretty much a grand final team to the worst team in Queensland, which is not a nice thing to say.
One of us is going to be 4-3 up because I'm going the Dragons.
You go in the Dragons max anytime. Mystic Matt is here with his crystal ball.
With Ethan Masters back at centre? Yes, I absolutely am. In fact, I'll go one further. I'll say Lomax and Aitken.
Okay.
Just a spite. I can't tip the Cowboys in any sort of confidence. I think that Holmes hasn't looked great under the high ball the last couple of weeks. I don't know how he's going to go at fullback when he has someone like Zach Lomax absolutely barreling down the guts. And then you also have the option of him staying out wide and putting some pressure on, if the numbers line up, that should be Tabuai Fido, I think, who, again, not been fantastic under the high ball. First game back in a couple of weeks. I think they win the forward battle with no Tamalolo. Frankie Molo, who I know you were a little disappointed in last week, has had a superb year, but he comes up against Laurie, Kerr, Frizzell, Host at McInnes. You'd almost argue that that's their second-rate forward pack, the Dragons, and it still gives the Cowboys a good run for their money there, with the likes of Fuimaono, Jackson Ford, and Kate Ellis coming off the bench. I can't say with any great deal of confidence the Dragons, but I'm sick of being stuck on 3-3. For the tip, I'm going the Dragons. I am, however, pretty confident in saying Lomax and Aitken anytime try scorer. So if you throw Dragons, Lomax, Aitken, it pays $8.25. If you want to go just Lomax and Aitken, that in itself is $7. If you really want to get frisky, you could go the over 41.5, but I'm not gonna touch that. I don't know what team's going to show up. I don't know if it's going to be the free flow and attacking Dragons running off the back of their forward pack, having McInnes come through as a support player in the middle, or if it's going to be the Dragons that we saw last week who couldn't score worth a damn.
So I'm gonna jump on this one. I'm gonna say Cowboys 1-12 and Holmes anytime. And I think that's pretty much the only thing that I am relatively confident about this week. Anything else could happen. It could be a high scorer, it could be a low scorer. I really don't know, but I don't know why I looked at this game. The gut went Cowboys, and we tend to listen to it. So that's what we're going to go for.
All right, Cowboys 1-12 in Holmes anytime. 8.25.
Not bad.
Not bad. Cowboys 1-12 paying 360. Holmes paying 275 anytime try scorer. Not bad value at all.
Yep.
Not bad value at all.
Worthwhile mentioning as well that the last two have gone 1-12. So could be. I mean, the Dragons took one, the Cowboys took one, so it's not terrible logic.
You could make a very strong argument for either team 1-12 as well, based on that.
I know what you're trying to do right now. You're trying to get up in my head, make me backpedal a little bit, safen up my bet. We're not having, say it with my chest. I'm gonna Cowboys 1-12.
Okay, 4-3.
It will be. It's just not your way.
No, probably not. No, my luck.
No. With that, then, I think that's going to wrap this episode up. Thank you very much. If you did make it all the way to the end, not many people do. Don't know why.
I will say, before we wrap this up, we've had, it's hard not to point out that we've had a really good month on YouTube. Obviously, a solid 747 subscribers in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. But, you guys have been really good. You've been fantastic in getting the content out there. It's by far our best month on YouTube. Obviously, we're starting to get to the back end of the season. We're going to start getting into silly season. Keep an eye out. There's going to be a ton of content coming throughout the off season. We're going to really, look to get ourselves out there. We've had a couple of folks call us a little amateurish, which hard to understand why. But that we're providing the content that you guys ask for. If you want more content like this, if you have suggestions, let us know. Make sure you use code CKM for the RCR products. Matty, I know you got a couple. You've been raving on them for the last couple of weeks about how good they are. So definitely get on that if you want to get the. I'll keep the winter pouch off, I guess, for you guys up north. For us down here, they do worldwide shipping. Get the summer bod ready to go. And yeah, I think I've stolen your sign off here, but I'm going to roll with it. Until next week, we'll catch us.